workers cite government's failure to honor agreed conditions of service.
Decided to declare an industrial action to back the demand for better conditions of service for its members. NEC decided further that should the government fail to honor its side of the bargain, the constituents of CLOGSAG will embark on a nationwide strike.
We have details from Parliament where the minority fires government over CLOGSAG strike as majority urges patience, insisting government will address the concerns of the union.
That I find is very unfortunate because you see these are conditions that they are entitled to.
And so we played with my friends in this CLOGSAG to reconsider their decision.
We need time to capture all those things. So I will call for restraint.
We have details from Parliament, plus speak to CLOGSAG live here on Top Story. Top Story, as always, is brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. My name is Fostina Sarfo. Please stay for details. Tonight, government services could face major disruptions as the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana prepares to embark on a nationwide strike from Monday over what it describes as unpaid dues and unfulfilled agreements with the government. The union says its patience has run out and members are ready to lay down their tools, a move they have already said will spark heated exchanges. Now, we'll take you to Parliament shortly. The minority is accusing government of dragging its feet on implementing agreed conditions of service, while MPs from the NPP say the concerns raised by CLOGSAG must be addressed urgently. Members of the NDC are appealing to the union to exercise restraint and give government more time to resolve their concerns. With tensions rising, many are watching closely to see whether a last-minute resolution can avert the looming strike. We'll hear from them shortly, but first let's listen to the Executive Director of CLOGSAG, Isaac Bampoado, explaining why CLOGSAG is embarking on this industrial action.
Over their own promises to implement the unique salary structure and other conditions of service referred to from. Over their own promises to implement the unique salary structure and other conditions of service referred to from 1st January 2023. In the light of the above, NEC decided to declare an industrial action to back the demand for better conditions of service for its members. NEC decided further that should the government fail to honor its side of the bargain, the constituents of CLOGSAG will embark on a nationwide strike referred from 9th March 2026. Thank you. Of unique salary structure and other conditions of service for the staff of the civil service and the local government service. On Thursday, 19th February 2026, the National Executive Council, NEC, of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, Ghana, CLOGSAG, met to consider the state of the negotiation on unique salary structure and other conditions of service for the staff of the civil service and the local government service. Taking the NEC through the journey of unique salary structure and other conditions of service for the staff of the civil service and the local government service. On Thursday, 19th February 2026, the National Executive Council, NEC, of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, Ghana, CLOGSAG, met to consider the state of the negotiation on unique salary structure and other conditions of service for the staff of the civil service and the local government service. Taking the NEC through the journey of the unique salary structure and other conditions of service for the staff of the civil service and the local government service, which started as far back as 2019, culminating in the signing of two separate MOUs. The NEC observed that the staff of the services are being taken for granted as reminders to the Ministry of Labour, Jobs and Employment, and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission have not been responded to.
Well, that was about 13 days ago. You heard Isaac Bampoado speaking. Now, only today, the group says that they've not heard anything from government, the reason why they've been forced to take this decision. My colleague Michael Ashali joins me in the studio with details of a statement that they put out earlier today. Michael, what does it say?
So, firstly, on 19th of February, it was a threat that they were going to go on a strike. Well, just today, Isaac Bampuado, who signed this statement just hours ago and circulated, it says that, and this is the first line, stay at home until further notice. And this is directed to the head of the civil service, the head of the local government service, and all regional secretaries of CLOGSAG, telling them that, well, a notice to all members of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association Ghana, that as you are aware, the National Executive Council of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, CLOGSAG, on Thursday, 19th, 2026, gave notice of the intention of its members to proceed on an industrial action. These issues remain unresolved, and as a result, all staff of the civil service and local government service are enjoined to stay at home with effect from Monday, 9th March 2026 until further notice, and ends with Choboy, and that's how it ends the statement first. So that's exactly how much we know from CLOGSAG. We know that usually the procedure is to go through the process of trying to resolve it. You drag the government to the National Labour Commission, you get an agreement. If it favors you, you wait for government to implement. If the government doesn't implement, you go back to NLC to now make another complaint. They tell us that this conversation, if you look at the 19th of February conversation, what they tell us is that they at that time had dragged government to NLC, and they had agreed that starting from the 1st of January 2025, these new conditions of service are going to take effect. But since that time until now, that gives us around 14 to 15 months. That does not happen. And that is exactly why this time around they are angry and they want to lay down their toes for stay.
Thank you so much, Michael Ashali. Well, let's head now to Parliament, where there's a raging debate about CLOGSAG's decision. Speaking to Joy News in Parliament, members of Parliament were sharply divided along partisan lines, while the NPP MPs threw their weight behind the strike and demanded the immediate implementation of the agreement. The NDC counterparts urged the union to exercise patience with government, assuring that their concerns will ultimately be addressed.
I believe they are very much concerned about the government inconsistency in dealing with arrears payments or issues regarding conditions of service across board. Because when you get government picking and choosing which government institution it wants to pay them because of fear that their strike or demonstration will go against the government, then they would look at the civil service demand and say that, come on, yours is not as critical as we see in other sectors, so we can delay. That I find is very unfortunate, because you see these are conditions that they are entitled to. And irrespective of the state of the economy that we say or the government portrays that things are better, the economy looks good, when you go out there to the market, cost of transportation is not easy.
It's unfortunate, first of all, the declaration of strike by CLOGSAG is unfortunate, first of all. And I think that the authorities are going to be looking at it closely, and then we'll see what is due them, and they will be giving. I mean, it is not in anybody's interest whatsoever at all that government institution workers declare, strike. I mean, it's not in anybody's interest. His Excellency Mahama, that's not what he's wishing for. Again, let us not forget that we took this economy from a very difficult position, and we're trying to reset this economy and to ensure that every Ghanaian gets what he or she is due. And so we played with my friends in this CLOGSAG to reconsider their decision. His Excellency Mahama would take care of every situation, and I think that will be fine. We'll be fine. I think the authorities will take care of it very soon, and then they will return to work. There should be no problem.
I will call on our colleagues to exercise restraint. This situation was inherited by this government, and the government is working around the clock to find resolution. Even though prices of goods per se have not come down dramatically, we all agree living conditions are better because inflation is just 3.3, so the rate at which prices are going up is dramatically lower. Fuel prices low, dollar. So even though they're not getting the conditions they're looking for, they are better off under this government. And let me be clear here. This government is not going to renege on the earlier agreement with the previous government, except that we need time to capture all those things. So I will call for restraint. I will call for them to exercise some level of patience, and definitely they're going to be better under this government than the previous one.
Well, you had the NPP MP for Efia Isaac Boamayako, NDC MP for Trifo Atimokwa David Von D, and NDC MP for Brecum West Dixon Gia. Well, we will be delving into what exactly we're learning. We're told that there may be a backdoor negotiation even before Monday. We'll confirm that for you. But Michael Ashali is still with me in the studio. Michael, I'm wondering what services would be affected on Monday?
Well, CLOGSAG is one of the biggest unions within the government agency, because you would expect that a lot of civil servants also work within this space. Quite a number of offices will be affected, and a number of services as well will also be affected. Well, you would have that if you go to the birth and death registries, which is one of the main places that a lot of people go to almost every day. If you're thinking about registration of your weddings, your death certificate, the birth certificate, there's a higher chance that this is where you have to go. And if you go to that place, chunks of people almost every day trooping in and out, and that is one of the services that most likely will also not come in if this strike goes ahead as they have planned. That on Monday, if you go there for a birth, death certificate, or even for your marriage, you may not be able to get any of their offices working. Also, if you go to the Control and Accountant General's Department, also one of the places that a lot of people are trooping in with a lot of interest. If you have issues with your salary, there's a chance that once this happens, that will not get resolved as well. If you also go to the ministries and government agencies, a lot of ministries and government agencies, if you go there, you are more likely not to be able to get access to some of these services that they also render. Also, if you go to the metropolitan assemblies, the municipal assemblies and district assemblies as well, a lot of members of CLOGSAG also work at them. Often than not, when strikes like this happen, if you go to any of these assemblies, you're more likely to be told that there's nobody who is willing to serve you, because you have to go through somebody before you eventually get to the person in charge of that service. And usually these are the people that CLOGSAG usually comes into contact with. So you have to get in contact with CLOGSAG before you actually get to see either CEO or director or deputy director of any of these agents. So it will be a difficult one come Monday if the strike goes as intended. We'll be waiting. We've heard quite a lot of rumor about what is trying to happen at the moment, but we are uncertain for exact or sure what is happening right now. But all we have is what the statement that I've been given, that on 19th there was a threat. 19th of February there was a threat from CLOGSAG that they have this agreement with government that should have been implemented 1st January 2025, but that did not happen.
And then it's shocking that we are having this conversation now, because Isaac said that, in fact, in that news conference, that they were giving government some days before they actually declare their next action. It's been 13 days after that. They say government continues to fail to implement that condition of service that they've agreed upon, and also to improve their conditions of service. And so this concern from CLOGSAG has been brewing for a while now.
Yes, it's one of those things. So if you look at the negotiation process, sometimes it could take you between 8 months to 2 years to get some of these negotiations finalized. That's why more often than not you see them starting this conversation, say, a year before the expiration of the current conditions of service. So that gives all parties enough time to plan and to adjust and to find space, budget. A lot of this is actually about money. So more often than not, to get government to say that, okay, I can afford these new conditions of service, or which one must go and which one is now more important to us. You remember that, for instance, when we got to after COVID-19 and things got tough, there was this conversation about COLA. And COLA is one of those things that was for the conditions of service for members of those who were working for government. So it was one of those conversations. It took some time. It's one of those ones that got through in record time. But every association usually starts some of these conversations at 1 year. So it's been something that's been on the back burner for a long time. For you to get them to say that it should have started in 2025, that puts us to 14 to 15 months now, and that's quite a long time to wait for your conditions of service to improve. And an improvement in your conditions of service means more money for you, more areas that our government considers that they may be looking at them and giving you some allowances for. In the absence of this, that only means that those things are not coming. You're still taking old money that reflects older living condition standards. But we've also had the conversations from government as well, that since they came, right now we are looking at inflation around 3.3%. It means that in the last 1 year, the conditions of living has improved, at least largely. Technically. So it has largely improved, and that the rate of increment to be expected on the market has also changed over that period of time. So this is something I'm sure the government's argument. You've heard the members of parliament who are asking CLOGSAG to actually give government some more time whilst they're also trying to see whether they have the money.
The NDC MP appears to be back in government. The NPP MPs, they are of the opinion that CLOGSAG is right. But this issue came up as far back as 2019, Papani. And I remember that there were two separate MOUs they signed even before this administration took office. We heard from Isaac Bampoado alleged that the previous administration had actually approved the conditions of service for workers in the finance ministry. Claims we cannot substantiate for now, but then they are concerned that what is taking government so long to adhere to their concerns?
Well, firstly, one thing we know for sure is that prior to 2025, and that's in December, when there was this conversation between government, the new government and the old government, the conversation, at least from Felix Kwachofoso at the time, was caution to the old government that don't agree to things because we've seen the books. It may be difficult to absorb some of these things. It's why when they came, one of the things they did was to cancel some of the appointments or some of the recruitments that the former government has done. Cash has been tight. One thing we know, and this government has been trying very much to squeeze from here and to take from here and to use to solve one thing. So it possibly may be one of the reasons why government has not been able to meet their financial obligation or to implement this, which we know largely has to do with money. So it's one of the reasons you'd have this conditions of service not implemented as of now. But it also is one of the mandates of these groups to also push for it to be implemented. That only means that they are losing money. 10% of a certain amount of money in January 2025 is not the same in January 2026 because now the interest rate on money is gone down. It's almost also maybe going to hit a single digit maybe before the end of the year. So time value of money is also very important to these people. And I'm sure even when they get approval, the conversation will be when can these money be paid? And that's what I'm sure government cannot keep itself to and why they don't want to implement it.
And for most people, they're wondering why embark on an industrial action when you're still on the negotiation table with government. Some experts will argue that you're breaching labor laws, but then others say this is the only way you appear to get government to listen to you in our part of the world.
Well, sadly, that has become the norm. That for every group that wants to be taken serious, you actually eventually have to end up at the point where you are laying down your tools. You don't go and render the service that everybody expects you, and then you disrupt government business. Well, that is the expectation. But we also know that from the conversation, from the rules of engagement, is that you cannot be on strike and be expecting to be negotiating. But let's not forget that this strike takes effect from Monday. So even if there's going to be a negotiation, it has to happen now.
But tomorrow is a holiday. We're all going to be celebrating Independence
Tomorrow is a holiday.
Day.
It's already past 5 when we know that officially government business is closes around 5. But let's see what really can happen between now and Monday. But as it stands now, the rules of engagement is that you cannot be on strike and be expecting any other group to engage you. So even if NLC comes into this, the first demand they'll make on CLOGSAG is to call off the strike, and then before they come back to the negotiating table. If that is not done, more often than not, they have refused to meet the striking group under any circumstance at all until this strike actually is called off. That's one of the things that you usually have to do in a situation like this before you come to the negotiation table. But we don't know if negotiations have started. We don't know whether government is trying to calm the nerves of these members of the CLOGSAG Association before they actually go on strike on Monday. We can only wait. We can only wait and see what exactly will happen by Monday and see whether they'll make good of their promise or their threat to go on a strike?
Indeed. Thank you, Michael Ashale. He's actually covering this for us on the labor front. But I have joining the conversation Austin Game. He's a labor expert. Austin, I appreciate your time here on Top Story. We're just hearing from CLOGSAG. Tell us that indeed they will be withdrawing their services on Monday. I'd like to start with your thoughts on the legality of this proposal.
Well, to be honest with you, we have a labor law in this country, which is an applicable law, not to wait for anybody to give any interpretation to it. So, as an applied law, there are processes you must go through. And every engagement, I understood the engaged government of PAS in 2019 and agreed on a certain way forward, which they expect the present government, obviously government is continuum, to enable them see what can be done about their request. That itself is a gigantic kind of thing that they cannot take a strike action for a 1-year-old government for something that has lasted 4 years. It's not fair. That is the only thing. Otherwise, they have every legitimate reason to call on the employer to listen to their concern and to be seen to be addressing them. They have every legitimate concern.
You say it's not fair, really, but they've been waiting on government for 4 good years, just like you mentioned. Previous administration made promises, they failed. This administration also made promises, and they are hoping that government would at least adhere to their promise.
Yes, you heard I have heard it too. I'm sure they have heard it too. You also heard that the president said he was going to set up an independent emolument commission that will address holistically these issues. They cannot, at the back of that, address something. That's why there's a need for the employer, which is government, to quickly meet them and to be seen to be giving them assurances with timelines as to when they will be doing some of these things. Because it cannot be into infinitum. That's why I said I agree with them up to a point that they have a legitimate concern to be addressed. And government is continuum, I agree, but 4 years and 1 year is like night and day. You cannot embark upon strike action on an issue that is being given attention to. We all know that.
Then, looking at the concerns being raised by CLOGSAG, from where you sit, is it something that can even be addressed in the interim? They threaten that on Monday they'll be withdrawing their services. We know that key institutions will be turning away individuals as a result of this industrial action.
Well, it's up to the employer. I'm not in their shoes. If I were to be in charge, I know exactly what to do. And I expect the National Labour Commission to take immediate action. I expect the head of the Office of Civil Service. I expect the head of the local government, not the president acting on this. I expect them, who are the legitimate heads, to take immediate action by walking straight to the Labour Commission and let all of them be summoned right now to have a meeting till midnight, and they will have the matter resolved and inform the whole nation, because we are looking for employment for our sisters and brothers and children and grandchildren. Every investment portfolio is moving towards another direction. Who will come and invest in a country that is chaotic when you are deliberately denying yourself opportunity of investment to enable you to have your people employed? Okay. And CLOGSAG should think through about it, because their action will spark that trouble.
Austin, stay with me. Let me bring in the PRO of CLOGSAG. We understand that they were in a crunch meeting. Edmond Akwe joins us live with updates. Edmond, what was the outcome of your meeting?
May I know who is at the other end of the line, please?
Faustina speaking here.
I am the one, Mr. Akwe.
Oh, you want to know who I was speaking to before?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I've introduced myself to him already.
Yes, please.
I didn't hear, please.
I am your brother, Austin Gyasi.
Oh, senior. Very well, very well. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, update on
good evening
meeting?
and good evening to your listeners. And wherever they find themselves. Well, the outcome of the meeting is that we should be on strike on the 9th of March. That was the outcome of the National Executive Council meeting that was held earlier on today.
But we know
So
that...
as it stands, the staff of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association are going to be on strike come 9th March indefinitely.
But we've just been hearing from Austin Game. He says that you should go back to the negotiation table because you may be breaching labor laws if you proceed on this industrial action.
Well, for us, we had already given an intention of strike almost 2 weeks ago, somewhere around 19th February. We put out there that there's a looming action that needs to be taken by government. And for that matter, the Civil and Local Government Staff Association are talking about their conditions of service that has been lingering on for the past 5 to 6 years. Since 2019 down the lane, we've been negotiating on our salary, conditions of service and salary structure, and we have signed a number of agreements, number of MOU. We have now come to the implementation stage. This implementation should have taken place somewhere 1st January 2025, but law-abiding citizens, when the new government came in, they asked us to give them some time. We've waited for over a year now, and no positive action has been taken on the implementation of our conditions of service and issues that have to do with our salary structure. And for that matter, today, the National Executive Council of CLOGSAG, having given ultimatum or otherwise intention of strike since 19th February, having not hearing anything positive from our employer, today had a crunch meeting. And at the end of it, it was decided that staff within the civil service and the local government service should lay down their tools come 9th of March 2026. Our matter is so simple.
Okay. With your negotiations with government, what exactly did they tell you?
Well, we had a meeting just about 3 days ago. They said they were going to get back to us. And today being Thursday, we've not heard from them. Tomorrow is a holiday. It's not a working day. We have to tell our constituents the right thing. That's so far so good, or otherwise so far so bad.
Can I intervene before I go to my class to teach?
Not heard anything positive from
Mr. Kwe,
No, Mr. Game, please hold on. Let him make his point. I'll allow you to intervene.
We've not heard anything positive from our employer concerning the agreement that we have come to, that staff within the civil service and local government service should have their conditions of service, which has been signed and sealed. And now we are looking at implementation.
Okay. Mr. Edmund, but then Mahama has set up a national emolument committee, and this is to address the salary disparities. Won't you wait upon the committee to finish their work, at least?
The civil and local government staff have been waiting for far too long on this matter. This issue you are telling me about the president establishing the emolument committee doesn't come in here. We are talking about current employment and current issues that we are facing. And we are currently working as well. So we expect that what will be given to us in the fairness of employer-employee relationship.
So we should expect that industrial action would commence on Monday, unabated?
Exactly. Our people on the ground are not happy with the action of government or otherwise our employer. And for that matter, every member that belongs to the Civil and Local Government Staff Association is ready on 9th of March to lay down their pen and paper and their tools that they work with. Until a positive action is given to us. Mind you, our issue was discussed at the transition, the team level.
Yes,
when there was no transition, those issues of conditions of service came in there. During the vetting of the Honorable Minister for Employment, Honorable Rashid Pelpo, a question was posed to him by Honorable Patrick Boama about the conditions of service of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, for which he put out there that he was going to ensure that we get what belongs to us.
Okay.
1 year down the line, we've not seen it. Rather, unfortunately, some members within the Ministry of Finance are benefiting from these conditions of services that we have put out there.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Which results into what we refer to as salary dispute.
Unfortunately, we have to let you go at this point in time. We appreciate your time. So you heard there from CLOGSAG tell us that they'll continue with the industrial action. Briefly, let me wrap up 30 seconds with Austin Game. He's not with us. Okay, we appreciate your time here on Top Story. Up next is Newsnight. Kenneth Gyasi, over to you.
Good evening, welcome to Newsnight. And tonight, with the onset of the rainy season, the National Disaster Management Organization is once again sounding the alarm that it is not adequately resourced to deal with potential flood-related disasters. As it serves notice, it will begin nationwide massive demolitions to mitigate flooding.
Yeah, we need more excavators, we need more payloaders, we need more dozers, we need more tipper trucks so that this work can be done rapidly.
We have details as the Ghana Meteorological Agency warns of above normal rainfall across southern Ghana this year.
And so basically, it means we are going to expect more rains, the East Coast and inland areas, especially April, May, June period.
China, US and other Western governments mount an unusually coordinated push to get Ghana to halt a gold royalty hike they say could harm some of the world's biggest miners. We've got details of that story coming up shortly. And also tonight, President Mahama says the government has added rice, tomato puree and mackerel to the list of items banned from land transit in business.
Finance Minister Dr. Atuforsen reveals Ghana is close to completing the external debt restructuring program after 8 deals with Belgium today.
In sports,
CAF postpones WAFCON to July after Morocco's withdrawal as host.
And a bit later, the minority and majority trade blame over pirate attack in fierce debate of President Mahama's State of the Nation address.
Mr. Speaker, is it not worrisome that for the first time in our history, we can have pirates coming as close as within 30 nautical miles of our waters?
Pirates are pirates. They would attack. But the problem is after the attack, we are looking at the response, the reaction of our security forces.
We've got the latest of these and many other stories coming up in the next 60 minutes. You can be a part of this show by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. My name is Kenneth Gyasi. Details after this.
There are many reasons to connect, and it's all to put smiles on the faces of those you love.
Daddy, thanks for the tea cash, okay? I love you.
That's my daughter Angela. Caring for my parents, that's my duty. I also get to pay my utility bills easily with Telecel Cash. And to the suppliers at my shop,
hello sir, Telecel Cash payment received right on time. Thank you.
I get to make them smile because I can pay to my suppliers' merchant numbers, even on other networks directly. My dear ones, we keep the connection stronger when our family, friends, and business relations are happy. Live on cash, enjoy convenience, and make those who matter smile when you send them money with Telecel Cash.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. Me I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me die, my God, with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Ghana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks, and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Tema near Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm telling you, my brother has scored more goals than Asamoah Gyan.
What? This is impossible.
Check the stats.
What stats? We can't start. I have seen everything from 1986.
Funny thing about us Ghanaians, we'll argue for 3 days straight, but numbers always settle the matter. So, instead of just telling you about better fuels, let's do the math. The new Shell Fuel Save lasts up to 15 kilometers longer per tank. The new Shell V-Power cleans 100% of your engine's critical parts.
Now that's better by far.
The next time you think of filling up, choose new and improved Shell Fuels.
Excuse me, this Milo pack looks different. I'm seeing support energy release balm on the pack.
Yes, so the support energy release means when you give your kids Milo as part of breakfast, you are giving them energy to help them win at school.
Ah, then I like this one.
Your jams need nourishment and energy. Give them the Milo Energy at breakfast, now with vitamin D that supports energy release to help their daily performance. Milo, energy to go further. Milo. This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome to the program. And tonight, Ghana is facing a coordinated pressure from Western and Chinese governments to halt the proposed mineral royalties slide scale, which they say could harm some of the world's largest miners, according to a Reuters report cited by Joy News and head of research here at Joy News, Isaac Ofieje, has details of that particular report and is joining me in studio with more. Isaac, tell us more.
Well, Ken, we just cited this report from Reuters, and the headline is that China, U.S. pressure Ghana to halt gold royalties hike, and it's a document sources say. And per what we've done so far, the checks we've done in terms of when this LI went to Parliament, our check shows that by Monday, the 21 days for the LI to mature will end, and then that will mean that the LI will actually mature on Monday. And now, what does Ghana really want in this new LI? Currently, we have a fixed rate of 5% royalties, but this new LI, when actually accepted, will mean that we're going to practice what we call the sliding scale, 5% to 12%. And this LI has actually stated that whenever gold prices go up by some $500 per ton or per ounce, Ghana has the right to increase that royalty scale by 1 percentage point. So it could move from 1% to 6% to 7%. and the maximum in this whole scale is about 12%. And the industry has actually been fighting back because they say that if you look at how much we are paying to you in terms of taxes, if you add the corporate income tax, if you add the royalties we are paying and other taxes, including the sustainable levy that we are paying currently, we pay more than 50% of what we earn to you as taxes. Well, they went to the finance ministry wanting this to be, the industry wanted the new sliding scale to be between 4 to 8%. Government says that, well, we may not be able to do that for you now because we still think that we should maintain the 5 to 12%. And then the sustainability levy that you pay 3% currently, we are going to take 2 percentage points of that, pay 1%, and then go ahead with the 5 to 12% sliding scale. So this is the latest information we are getting from that Reuters report, that there is now pressure from US, other Western governments, including even China, that Ghana should halt this sliding scale. Why do they say that? They say that if we should continue with this, that is going to affect some big mining companies. Kenneth.
Isaac Ovieje, thank you very much. Let's go onto the telephone lines right now and speak to Patrick Stevenson. He's the country manager of Natural Resources Governance Institute. And Mr. Stevenson, welcome to the program. What do you make of this developing story?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Evan. It's very interesting to hear that, but also not entirely new. Because again, we have seen historically that not only Ghana, but several countries on the African continent and indeed the global south have not significantly benefited, from the upswing of prices for minerals that we have been producing and extracting for centuries, right? And so, at least we at NRGI, when this conversation started some 3 years or 4 years ago, had actually done some piece of work. This was on the back of the I'm sure you recall the lithium, agreement that, broke the public discourse on this country. And when we had looked at that, one of the propositions we had made, that if government wanted to make the most from our minerals, that it was time we shifted away from the flat royalty rate regime that we had. It's something that was a bit more staggered. Because outside of even the critical minerals like lithium and the others, like the bauxite, for instance, there is an indication that demand for these minerals are going to see an uptick because of questions around energy transition, for example. If you look at our traditional and precious minerals like gold, current geopolitical developments have pushed prices up. And it's important that countries in the global south benefit from these price upticks. So I find some of the arguments that I just seen in the report and the pressure being mounted on government vis-a-vis costs that this will have on mining activity, very, very strange. I don't think that seems to have been supported by any credible data and an analytical, at least I haven't seen, right, other than the political considerations where we still get debated on this question of getting very little from our mineral resources. And there's a certain history to our royalty regime, and I'm sure you probably are familiar with it, that, we had something that looked like a sliding scale regime, but it was not indexed to price uptick, and the companies benefited, significantly. When we passed our mining law in the mid-2000s, then the companies negotiated with our government always on the lower end of that band. So in 2010, we pushed for another reform, and that reform introduced a flat regime at about 5%. That also did not deliver significant value because prices of these commodities kept, growing. And so it then became a question of what we could do so the country could benefit from these. And I think there was extensive consultation to the best of my knowledge, even to the point where when the minister had then proposed this in Parliament without significant consultation, civil society was up in arms. And then we were brought to the table. In fact, I am even of the view that the gap between the bands, which are $500 per ounce of gold, that band is even too wide, because it would take a while for some of those bands to trigger the royalty rates we had looking for. The companies have already locked in costs. So I'm not particularly sure what, again, the question on cost dynamics will look like. they make reference to the stabilization levy, which government considered extensively in making revisions downward from about 3% to 1%, if I remember the numbers right. So this again speaks to, in my view, what may look like geopolitical pressure that may still subvert the interest of a country in optimally generating significant value from our minerals. And I think it should serve as a wake-up call. I'm sure in the next, this is just breaking, the next couple of days,
right,
we will get the opportunity to properly understand what the drivers really are, and then get, to support, broader citizen engagement and advocacy around it. Fundamentally, because there's a big call now for African countries to prioritize the value addition of their own minerals. And this, at least in my view, speaks to that. And if you start thinking actively about the which geopolitical pressures may not be things that we have to navigate. It's very interesting to hear this, Evan.
Right, Patrick Stevenson, thank you very much. He's the country manager at Natural Resource Governance Institute. I still have Isaac Ovieja in the studio with me. He's the head of research here at Joy News. Isaac, you have additional information to this fast developing breaking story.
Well, Ken, we have details of that sliding scale, and in fact, per what we have here, it simply means that when gold prices are 1,900 per ounce or below, government gets to charge 5% royalties. If it is between 1,900 and 2,000, 6%. If it's then between 2,000 and 2,500, 7%. And when it's about 4,500, government gets to charge 12%. So this, Ken, means that if this is approved and accepted and it matures in Parliament and it's accepted, it means gold prices currently around 5,000 per ounce, right?
Yeah.
It means that mining companies are supposed to pay Ghana 12% as royalties. And they have made a point that, well, if we do our own calculations, we are paying so much already in terms of what the chamber is saying. So they say that currently they pay what they call the general royalties rate of 5%, with 3 companies operating under development agreement that apply rates between 3 to 5%. Now, mining companies also pay 35% corporate income tax, 3%, that's what I spoke about, growth and sustainability levy, as well as other taxes as 10% free carried interest, import duties, withholding taxes, mineral royalties fees, ground rent, and pay as you earn, which is the payee that we all know. And they say that, well, if this new sliding scale is approved and implemented, it is going to increase their effective tax rate from 60% to 68%. They've made a point that if there should be any sliding scale, it should be between 4% to 8% and not 5 to 12%, Ken.
That's an interesting developing story there. You're still listening to News Now here on Joy 99.7 FM. You can be a part of this show, as I mentioned earlier, by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. Let's bring you other stories this evening, as the Accra Metropolitan Assembly is threatening to jail residents who refuse to participate in Saturday's National Sanitation Day exercise. In a statement, the Assembly says failure to comply constitutes an offence punishable by a fine of up to 100 penalty units, a jail term of not less than 30 days, or both. The warning comes ahead of the 7th March National Sanitation Day exercise, where the minority in Parliament has criticised the exercise, saying it fails to address core sanitation challenges amid delays in paying arrears owed to waste contractors and insufficient provision of essential materials for waste collection. We'll hear from them shortly, but first, my colleague Stephen Mensah is joining me in studio with details of that statement from the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Stephen, what does this statement say?
Well, Kenneth, the statement says the Assembly says this month's exercise will involve intensive cleanup operations across key parts of the capital. To ensure the exercise is effective, the Assembly says it will deploy public health officers, popularly known as Sama, along with the sanitation task force, sweepers and janitors across all sub-metros. They will be supported with logistics and equipment for desilting, refuse collection, and proper disposal at approved sites. The AMA says it remains committed to working with stakeholders to make Accra a smart and sustainable city, and is urging all residents to play their part this Saturday.
And what are the target areas for this cleanup exercise?
The targeted areas include Agbebloshi, the Central Business District, Tuesday Market, Chemu Na, Kaneshi and Circle, and the focus will be on desilting choke drains, sweeping streets and alleyways, removing unauthorized posters and banners, and cleaning markets, lorry parks, and other public spaces, all aimed at improving sanitation and preventing flooding as the raining season approaches. The exercise is expected to take place from 6 a.m. until the work is completed as part of ongoing efforts to promote environmental cleanliness and public health in the metropolis.
Stephen Mensah, thank you very much. I've been joined by Gilbert Ankra. He is the Public Relations Officer at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Gilbert, welcome to the program. There are already questions as to whether this bylaw sanction is enough deterrent.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and on behalf of the Mayor, Honorable Michael Safon, good evening to the tourist. Of course, as an assembly, we would want the law to bite more, but currently, this is where we find ourselves. The Assembly 2017 Communal Bylaw clearly states the punishment for not adhering to some of these communal labor within the city, and it's up to a fine of 100 penalty units. Let me say that a penalty unit, so for this 100 penalty units, we are looking at something around 1,200 CDs. So that is currently what the law states. We are working within the law. But as an assembly, we are quite hopeful that people will come on board, more especially because we are marking our Independence Day celebration. So we want people to rally around the entire celebration. Residents within their various communities, our assembly members are also supporting. They should come on board and ensure that come Saturday, we all clean our various areas, meetings. We will provide logistics to ensure collection as well.
And Gilbert, how does the Assembly plan to sustain sanitation improvements beyond this one-day exercise you're embarking on the 7th?
Thank you very much. The exercise with respect to cleanup is something that is ongoing. And let me even use the Clean Ghana as a reference. Every Wednesday, the public health officers, together with Joy, your reputable station, they move into the market, especially at Bobluchi district. We're focusing on Bobluchi to ensure that there is some cleanliness within that particular entity. As for the silting work, it is something that is ongoing.
Right.
This is a communal bylaw, and as we are all aware, the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, launched a program. So as part of supporting with respect to our bylaws, this is where we find ourselves. But as a city, the more we do the cleaning, because don't forget that the waste is generated on daily basis, and if we don't get one particularly to ensure that we move in and then do that communal labor form of cleaning, it will be very, very difficult. We are also advocating for people to do the cleaning on daily basis as it's being done.
Gilbert Ankra, thank you very much. He's the Public Relations Officer at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. We can now listen to the minority in Parliament who have been criticizing the efficacy of the government's National Sanitation Day. John Darko is on the Local Government and Rural Development Committee and is also a Member of Parliament for Swami constituency.
No, it hasn't been effective. If it has been effective, we will not be doing this every month. We have to find a better way of treating our waste. In fact, it's one of the things that as a country have failed to do. Our cities are way dirtier than any regular city in Africa. I'm not even comparing Europe or Asia. In Africa, I think that we're one of the lowest in terms of cleanliness. And we've been doing this, at least since this government came for a year. We haven't improved on that. The point is that the private companies who were doing this, in my view, haven't been treated well. Zoom Lion, government hasn't paid Zoom Lion for so long, and so in fact we are unable to even clean the our cities and even dispose of the waste.
John Dako is a member of the Local Government and Rural Development Committee and also an MP for Swami. And meanwhile, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has prosecuted 10 fishmongers and issued bench warrants for 7 others over the insanitary conditions with which they preserve fishes in Jamestown. My colleague Stephen Mensah has more in the latest from the Joy Clean Ghana campaign.
The Accra Metropolitan Assembly Sanitation Court fined 10 fishmongers 50 penalty units each, equivalent to 600 cedis, and issued bench warrant for 7 others who failed to appear in court for drying fishes on medians. This follows the Joy Clean Ghana campaign's visit to Jamestown, where it uncovered the fishmongers were drying the fishes meant for human consumption on the road medians, exposed to dust and fumes from the vehicles. Florence Kuchi, Director of Public Health at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, warns these practices could spark disease outbreaks.
Yourself, you saw it. The fish was dried. Somebody went, I don't know whether the person has decided to shit inside or the person went to step on the shit and came to walk on the fish throughout. You saw it. You asked me why we are not collecting it. How can we collect something that has already been contaminated with human excreta? Because of the vehicular emissions and the ties, there's also a high risk of lead and cadmium contamination on these fishes. And when you eat it, you can develop upper respiratory diseases. It is like some of the chemicals are carcinogenics. And not just that one alone. With the microorganisms, it can lead to diarrhea, it can lead to cholera, it can lead to typhoid fever. Some people go to the market, they don't even wash it. They just remove the dish and they want to taste it to see how palatable it is before they will buy. You stood there and they are telling you they are not selling it to human beings. Whom are they selling it to?
The Joy Clean Ghana campaign continues to spotlight sanitation lapses across markets, urging collective responsibility from both authorities and citizens. For Joy News, Stephen Mentan.
From sanitation, let's talk about the weather, because the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, is raising strong concerns over limited resources to address perennial flooding and related challenges as it prepares to begin a nationwide demolition exercise aimed at minimizing the situation. The organization is racing against time to avert the challenge, which over the years has led to the loss of many lives and the destruction of properties worth millions of cedis. The Director General of the organization, Joseph Kuyon, who led an inspection tour of some flood-prone areas in Accra, says NADMO plans to intensify the pull-down of illegal structures on waterways, but lacks adequate resources and logistics effectively to carry out the plan.
What is temporarily holding us is what we spoke about at Ga East, about the drip equipment. The drip equipments are there, but they are not enough. So we need to marshal logistics. This work, if we leave it to drip equipments and what I have at NADMO, it will take us months to clear the debris. But if we can get support and raise logistics from other agencies, it can be done in a week or two.
So what kind of support would you need?
We need more excavators, we need more payloaders, we need more dozers, we need more tipper trucks so that this work can be done rapidly and then dredging can begin at the other end of the lagoon.
So apart from the equipment, I'm sure that you would also need some financial support. How much do you think would help NADMO in clearing some of these drains and also helping you to do your work ahead of the rainy season?
A beggar has no choice. Whatever anybody can support us with, we'll be grateful to the person. There will be more demolition because you can see today, we demolished this place, cleared structures. Today you are here, you saw people putting up other things. And so we would ensure that people are forced to obey the law. We will ensure.
That's the Director General of NADMO, Joseph Kuyon, and he has also noted that the organization has been working significantly since last year to fix many broken drains through extensive desilting exercises to sustain the fight against flooding in the Greater Accra region.
I always say that managing disaster is a process, not an event. We embarked on flood preparedness and prevention since last year, and we're witnesses to His Excellency himself touring some parts of Accra to acquaint with the flashpoints and preparations that were being done. And after that, we have worked along the line with the various MCEs and then the local authorities to ensure that we are ready and prepared should flood occur. And not only that, to also ensure that as much as possible, we prevent it from occurring. And so we did some demolitions, we cleared drains at Okaikwe where we stopped first. You saw the work that has been done on the drain after the president's visit. And in Gai East, you saw the work that has been done after the flooding. I think that was the last flooding serious incident last year. It took about 5 lives.
Right, let's go into the telephone lines right now and speak to Dr. Eric Esumi. He's the Director General at the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Daniel Nate is also the Greater Accra Regional Director of NADMO. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this evening. I want to begin with you, Dr. Esumi. Your forecasts indicate above normal rainfall across southern Ghana this year. What exactly should residents expect during the peak of the rainy season?
Thank you very much. My name is Eric Asuman. So what our forecasts indicate this year, as you rightly indicated, for especially April, May, June period, East Coast and inland areas are expected to have above normal rainfall. And the forest transition and northern zone should also expect to receive normal to above normal rainfall totals. And when we say this, what we are saying is that compare the expected rainfall in the forecasting period to the long-term mean, 30-year analysis of the rainfall pattern. And we are saying that we are expecting more rainfall than the long-term mean. What we will say, specifically to your question, is that let the citizens or Ghanaians follow our forecast and warnings, the update. So this is a seasonal outlook, but this will be followed by a weekly forecast, a 3-day forecast, a daily forecast, and then when we experience any significant development in the atmosphere, we will come up with a warning. And let Ghanaians follow this information, these advisories and these bulletins from GMET, and then take necessary precautionary measures to save their lives and property.
Right.
That's all what we are calling Ghanaians to do. Follow the forecast and take the necessary actions when we issue the warnings. We are working hard to make sure that the forecast reach every person in Ghana. And so, as I speak, we are working with National Communication Authority to make sure that when the warning is issued, it will pop on everybody's handsets or phone, and then draw your attention that something is coming. Look at it.
Right. Dr. Suman, and which regions are most likely to be affected by heavy rainfall and potential flooding?
So, as I indicated, April, May, June, the East Coast and the inland areas, and we are talking about East Coast. We are looking way from Cape Coast all the way to Ada, Saw Pond all the way to Kita. That's the East Coast, and which include Accra.
Yeah.
And so it will affect Accra. So these are the areas that we are talking about.
Right.
But once again, let me emphasize that this is an outlook and to be validated by our weekly, daily, and the warnings.
Dr. Eric Suman, thank you very much. He's the Director General at the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Dennis Nate is still with me on the line. He's the Greater Accra Regional Director at NADMO. Dennis, welcome to the program once again. You are proposing demolitions of structures on waterways. How will NADMO ensure the exercise is carried out fairly without causing undue hardship to residents?
Thank you very much. to your listeners as well. And yes, just like Director General for GMET rightly said, they will be expecting heavy rains this time around, and the rains are going to start very early. And so, as part of our flood mitigation process, we have started earmarking places where we'll be serving as where we can send people in case of any possible flooding. And so with the demolition exercises, like my Director General indicated earlier on, there are houses that we have already earmarked for demolition, and we started doing this in phases. So we have done phase 1, phase 2, we will continue with the phase 3. So this afternoon we visited some of the flash points in Greater Accra, that's the kind of. We inspected some of the garage projects ongoing. Last year, for instance, when we visited some of the places, we realized some of the retaining walls were down, but as of today, we have seen progress on most of the drains that serves as intake into the main Koli Lagoon. We visited the East municipality as well, and we realized that they have done a lot of dredging, which opens up the drains to accommodate enough floodwaters should we expect heavy downfall.
Right. Dennis Norte, thank you very much. He's the Greater Accra Regional Director of NADMO. And Richard Kofi Ameko is also joining me on the line for more. He's the officer in charge of drains at the Ghana Hydrological Authority. Richard, welcome to the program. What are the main structural causes of flooding in Accra from your hydrological standpoint?
Yes, hello. Good evening to your listeners and other viewers on other social handles. Straight to your question. Yes, having structures built on flood-prone areas, wetlands, and then people dumping in refuse into our drains. Those are some of the causes.
Right. And what engineering intervention should government prioritize to reduce the long-term risk of flooding in flood-prone communities?
Yes, the long-term solutions are to put in the drainage structures by constructing it either with concrete or having a nature-based solution by having some boulders along the banks where it is appropriate. But where it is urban areas, we need to put in solid concrete structures,
right,
so they can be able to convey flows.
Richard Kofi Ameko, thank you very much. He's the officer in charge of drains at Ghana Hydrological Authority, and that brings us to business. And George Riafe has got all the latest. George?
I mean, Kenneth, it's quite an interesting discussion. And is it in the Bible that talks about let those who have ears
listen,
because we don't want to get there.
Yeah.
The implications of this, of those who are living in the low-lying areas as well. Do you have to move now? Also about NADMO, how do we equip them? I stand to be educated, or maybe not to spew my ignorance, but this might be the first time I'm hearing the Met Service coming up publicly in terms of a report that is giving us these warnings about this rainy season. What this also mean for our farmers in terms of having a good rainy season.
Yeah.
So let those who have ears
listen
to it. Well, coming up in business, we'll be getting you some details on the finance minister as he reveals that Ghana is close to completing the external debt restructuring program after an aid agreement with the country Belgium. An economist, Professor Siram Karo, expresses concerns about the city's outlook if the current crisis in the Middle East doesn't end soon. The business news on Newsnights is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials. Sinter's Tanks and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal.
The other day, I visited Kweku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Shout! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information.
MTN.
The Ghana Exim Bank is 10 years old. Hooray! And to commemorate this milestone, the Ghana Exim Bank is hosting a 2-day international conference on the theme, A Decade of Enabling Export Trade and Industrial Transformation, Resetting GEXIM for the Next Frontier. The event takes place on the 25th to 26th of March at the Kempinski Hotel, Gold Coast City, 8 a.m. each day. President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, will perform the official opening of the conference. Special guest and speaker, Honorable Elizabeth Ofosue-Jari, Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. Conference host is Honorable Sylvester Adina Mensah, Chief Executive of the Ghana Exim Bank. For inquiries, call 0208-541-480 or visit eximbankghana.com/conference to register. Media partners, Daily Graphic, Media General, The Multimedia Group, City FM, Radio Gold and Channel 1 TV. And knowledge partners include IFC and SME Finance Forum.
Cast your mind back to 2022. The prices were rising. The stress was high. Every liter of fuel felt like a sacrifice. Do you remember who stepped forward first? When others were comfortable with high prices, Star Oil chose you. We cut our own profits so you could keep your AC on, keep your engines running, and keep your life moving without the heavy burden. We gave you room to breathe when things felt tight. Because of you, our star savers, we became number one. Today, the pumps are a battleground. Others are finally cutting prices because they have to. But Star Oil, we do it because we want to. Don't just chase a price, remember a friendship. We were there for you then, and with new innovations coming your way, we are here for you now. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
If you want quality, this be where you belong. Hey, tough, hey, strong. Oh, gonna shout and sing the song. When the sun they hot, syntax no break. When the rain they fall, still no shake. Builders they choose and plumbers they prove. Any project you they start.
You won't believe where my students and I are coming from.
I can see the excitement on your face. Tell me where.
Safari Eco Park. They are making it so accessible for schools, offering an unforgettable experience where students learn in nature, connect with wildlife, and truly engage with their surroundings.
Wow, that sounds amazing. But I'm a bit concerned about the cost.
I thought the same at first, but it's actually very affordable. Through a collaboration between Multimedia Group and Safari World, it is just 100 Ghana cedis for primary schools and secondary schools, and 150 Ghana cedis for tertiary schools. This is from February all the way to the end of April.
Oh, that's reassuring. And it's not too far either.
Exactly. It's only an hour drive from Accra, so the trip is convenient and stress-free for both teachers and students.
I love that the children get to learn through experience, not just textbooks, and the teachers can go along and come back relaxed as well. I'm definitely going to recommend this to our school. It sounds like the perfect blend of fun and education.
It really is. It's the kind of experience students never forget.
Every day when my children return from school, I don't recognize them all. Hello, do I know you?
It's us, Mommy.
But these dirty, sweaty uniforms and socks were clean in the morning. Hey, everything has transformed. I understand though. School is hectic. It takes energy to come home this transformed. So I make sure they have some Milo at breakfast.
Your champs need nourishment and energy. Give them the Milo Energy at breakfast, now with vitamin D that supports energy release to help their daily performance. Milo, energy to go further. Milo. This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, Finance Minister Dr. Atufo has revealed that Ghana is close to reaching a deal with all its bilateral and commercial creditors under the debt exchange program. The Finance Minister revealed this after he signed a deal with Belgium today. There is more in this report.
Government in 2022 kicked off the process of restructuring more than $13 billion in debt owed to external bilateral creditors as well as commercial institutions. The majority of the agreement was signed by the previous administration, while the new government continued the process, bringing the total number of countries involved to 8, including Belgium, with which an agreement was signed this afternoon. Speaking at the program, Finance Minister Dr. Atufo recalled what he described as a difficult period that the country endured during the crisis, which forced the government to declare debt default. The minister also stated that the country is now witnessing a significant economic turnaround as reforms and fiscal consolidation measures to take effect. The announcement by the Finance Minister of closing a deal with external bilateral and commercial creditors comes at a time when the government is preparing to issue a 20.1 billion cedis infrastructure bond later this month. The issuance of this infrastructure bond, as well as the cocoa bond, comes after the expiration of restrictions placed on Ghana due to the debt exchange program.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, economist Professor Seram Karwa is worried about the city's outlook if the current war in the Middle East doesn't end soon. The warning is coming after the city made some strong gains in the first 2 months of this year. However, there are concerns about whether this recent stability can be sustained. Speaking with Jobbers, Professor Karwa indicated that the current development in the Middle East presents some mixed fortunes for the local currency.
As we speak currently, the prices of food on the world market has increased. And if the government do not absorb the shocks that will come in, then that will go a long way to affect the import of crude. And if crude goes up, it affects all commodities that we have in the market. And that can in a way push the inflation rates a bit. But that impact can be felt in 2 weeks. I told the war would continue for the next 4 weeks or 3 to 4 weeks. If it continues, then there is the likely effect that this impact of the war may have effect on the currency that we have, because global trade will change, import more than we export. That can also affect the demand for the currencies that we have, and that can increase the dollar rate, and that may also affect the rate of inflation that we have in the country.
Economist Professor Seram Karwa. Now, Chamber of Petroleum Consumers has criticized the National Petroleum Authority with the decision to hold the discounted pricing of petroleum products by the oil marketing companies. The authority in a letter last week directed all the oil marketing companies to hold the practice effective March 16, 2026. But Executive Secretary of the Chamber, Duncan Amwa, says there is no justification for this action by the regulator.
I do not think that the OMCs are that bad to themselves to want to say, I'm doing predatory. Sometimes they just want to attract a little more volumes. Sometimes they just want to be able to even compete fairly against the more established brands, right, who operate in certain locations that are approximate to them. I do not think this benefits me sitting here. I do not see how this will benefit my uncle sitting in Accra if he can get a little more discount than Zen has already provided. If you can get a little more discount than Gold had already provided across MC. We are saying otherwise. Again, you are spot on to say that, look, the indicators, as Dr. Opon had rightfully suggested, which Abbas also confirms, is that the next window could be interesting. Price could spike. In the face of this spike, if some OMC or a BDC had stock, right? And I always say this, the assumptions that sometimes we make to come to some of these policy determinations, the assumptions themselves are flawed.
Duncan Amwa is the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. In a separate development, ranking member on the Energy Committee, Collins Admarco Mensah, says he wants government to come clear on the cost and impact on the economy. This should also propose some solutions. Mr. Mensah says government must not delay on this issue.
I think at this particular point in time, what I expect government to be doing, and I'm sure by now some discussions are going on, is for a meeting, an emergency meeting to be held. I'm sure NPA by now will be giving briefings to the Minister of Energy on the implications of all that is going on. I mean, we all know what goes into the price build-up. I mean, government plays a role with our taxes and some levies that are part of the pump price. I'm sure if it continues like that, government must take a very bold decision at this particular point in time to see how best they can cushion the consumers. Don't forget that the increases in the crude oil price also have some positive effects on us as a country, because we are an oil-producing country. What that means is that when you are going to sell, you're also going to make more revenue. Government must, I think, situate the increased revenue that will be coming in as a result of the increase in the prices as against the cost that consumers are going to incur. And I'm sure at that particular point in time, government will come to a compromise.
Ranking member on the Energy Committee of Parliament, Collins Admarco Mensah. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. It's quite a good time to be investing on the Ghana Stock Exchange, as returns made since the beginning of this year now stands at more than 62%. Now today, more than 10 stocks witnessed price change at the end of trading on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Some of the key stocks that went up, it was MTN, was up by 12 pesos to close at 5 Ghana cedis, 12 pesos. Standard Chartered Bank was also up by 5 Ghana cedis, 19 pesos to close at 57 Ghana cedis, 15 pesos. SIC Insurance, which has also been having some good run on the Ghana Stock Exchange, was up today by 5 pesos and is now worth 4 Ghana cedis, 40. That is 4 Ghana cedis, 95 pesos. That's all for business. But tonight on PM Express, we're still talking about development in the Middle East and the impact on Ghana's economy. We're engaging Dr. Tui Champon. He's a consultant or an advisor at the Ministry of Finance. Dr. Edu Osusakode is an economist. And also there's an angle about those who go to the Asian region to trade. That's why the president of GUTA will be our guest as we look at the Middle East crisis and the impact on Ghana's economy at 9 p.m. on Joy News and all our social media platforms.
It should be an interesting conversation because I've been following the conflict keenly. Thank you very much, George. It's now time for sports, and Benaya is here with the latest.
Charlie, Morocco, the people, what's wrong with them?
Why?
Because they didn't win the African Cup of Nations. They are trying to show people Pepe. You know, they're supposed to host the Women's African Cup of Nations.
Yeah.
And because they didn't win the AFCON, it's like they are still angry. They are trying to say, they've been hosting a lot of tournaments. We didn't win the AFCON, so if they decide to win the Women's African Cup of Nations, it's kind of like they are putting CAF under some kind of punishment.
That should give Ghana some opportunity to host some of these matches, don't you think?
Why would you do something like that? Anyway, so the Confederations of African Football announced today that it has rescheduled the date for the CAF Women's African Cup of Nations, which was scheduled to take place from March 17 to April 7 in Morocco. Now, CAF said the tournament will now take place from July 25 to August 16 to ensure the success of the tournament in light of certain unforeseen circumstances. Now, my colleague Lawrence Bedu has been explaining what this means for the Black Queens.
All 16 teams are unaware whether the tournament will go ahead as planned. Ghana has been in camp, Kenya has been in camp, Ivory Coast have been in camp, try to prepare for the start of the tournament. However, the communication around the tournament has not been forthcoming. CAF in the last few days have put on hold all promotional activities as part of whipping up interest for this tournament. Talks of postponing the tournament has come into the picture, with several media reports suggesting that Morocco are currently doubting their abilities to hold the tournament. In the development as well, South Africa have placed themselves on standby to be the new host of the tournament should Morocco decide to bow out. A reminder that the 2026 WAFCON also serves as a World Cup qualifier for the 2027 tournament that will be played in Brazil.
hopefully the tournament happens and the Black Queens makes Ghana proud. And that's it for the sports segment. Over to you, Kenneth.
Thank you very much, Benaya, there with the latest in sports. And here are some of the messages you've been sending to us. David Kofiga says the only thing the opposition MPP can do today is to criticize every good thing. Why? Nana Ekwiyamwa Boatin from Ablekuma Central says President Mahama in his State of the Nation address said the economy has recovered, but the evidence on the ground is to the contrary. The government for the past 15 months has not implemented CLOGSAG conditions of service. Cocoa farmers are still in disbelief that this government has given them haircuts. Who is this government deceiving? Francis in Accra says to John Mahama and his NDC government, we Ghanaians are watching them keenly with the development on the gold royalty tax mining companies yet to pay the country. They should keep to the LI for it to mature and come for the country to benefit. And let's bring you more stories this evening as a former defense Minister, Deputy Defense Minister Kofi Amankwa-Manu says the recent pirate attack and abduction of fishermen in the central region has left fisherfolk living in constant fear, attributing the incident to what he describes as failed leadership. Contributing to the State of the Nation address in Parliament, he argued that decisions taken by the NDC while in opposition, including the rejection of a contract to procure offshore petroleum vessels, have partly contributed to the situation.
Mr. Speaker, is it not worrisome that for the first time in our history, we can have pirates coming as close as within 30 nautical miles of our waters, approximately 45 kilometers, having a field day to the extent of abducting our compatriots? Is that not worrisome? It is very worrisome. And Mr. Speaker, sometimes I ask, where did we get here? And how did we get here? My colleague alluded to the fact that when a contract was brought to this House, it had to be withdrawn. Mr. Speaker, when the contract was brought to this House, I sat right there. And in fact, at the mere mention of that contract, our colleagues rejected with an emphatic no.
Right, you've been listening to Kofi Amankwa-Manu, who is a former Deputy Defense Minister. Professor Vladimir Enchi-Danso is a former Dean and Director of Academic Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, and is joining me on the telephone lines for a conversation on the back of this. Welcome to the program. Do you agree with the former Deputy Defense Minister that attack that happened last week is as a result of the rejection of a contract to procure offshore petroleum vessels?
Well, I didn't hear the full conversation, but a rejection of a contract or an acceptance of it would not necessarily stop pirates from doing what they do. We could have had the contract all right, and yet they would have embarked upon what they did. So for me, I do not think that the contract rejection and or acceptance had anything to do. I mean, the cause effect, I don't see the causal link between the acceptance of it and the denial of such situations that occurred.
We've also been hearing some responses from the majority side, particularly James Agaga, who is the chairman of Parliament's Defense and Interior Committee, who says that the swift response by the Ghana Navy in rescuing the 71 fishermen deserves commendation.
Well, I think I agree with him. Whether we have a contract or not, the Ghana Navy has an obligation to patrol the seas for us. So that's an indication that the institution is working. And so we don't need to politicize this situation. It's an unfortunate situation. What we need to do is to learn lessons from it and put our strategies together so that they don't happen again. And we must be informed that the epicenter of piracy has moved from Southeast Asia through the Ethiopia, Somalia area, and now it's in the Gulf of Guinea. Right. So these things might happen and happen and happen again.
So Parliament must have the institutions laid for ensuring safety to be able to be capable of doing what they did the last time.
Professor Vladimir Enchidan. So thank you very much. He's a former Dean and Director of Academic Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College in Accra. And that's it for Newsline this evening. Thank you very much for being a part of the show.